You are in Dr. Anyoha's studio. About 400,000 babies are born every day around the world. And in a year, we have about 140 million babies born. So there's a lot of babies. And taking care of the baby stage is very important because, as you know, babies eventually will grow to become adults. It is a big deal for parents, especially parents who have first parents. They're very excited during pregnancy. The parents are very excited, and when the baby is born, they are very excited as well. And babies are a bundle of joy to parents, and it can also bring some challenges. Okay, so it's both bundle of joys and challenges. That's what parents encounter when they have babies. My commitment here in this story is to talk about babies and answer questions parents would have, especially new parents who don't know much about babies. When we're growing up, we were babysitting our siblings, younger siblings. That experience carries over to adulthood. So you cannot underscore the experience gained as a young babysitter. So that adds up. But today's kids, some of them don't have that experience. And that is why this podcast and sharing of knowledge is very important. Depends on part of the world where you are born as a baby. We don't have the same opportunities. Babies born somewhere in the Western world don't have the same limitations as babies born in some part of Africa. And of course, it depends on your parental backgrounds. If you are born a prince, you might enjoy some comforts compared to if you're born a peasant. There's the similarity in experiences of babies and parents too. And on top of that, there is also differences in cultures. Different cultures have different expectations, and different parents have different expectations of how they care and raise their babies. This podcast is just to share what I know as an expert in infants and infant mental health and childhood development. I'm an expert because I went to school for that and I got my PhD in that field. I've been a pediatrician for 30 years now. So if you combine my experience as a pediatrician and my expertise in infant mental health and childhood development, I think I have a lot to offer. In fact, I think I regard myself as a missing link between the physicians and the psychologists. I'm that missing link that could connect between these two disciplines because I've been in both fields and I was good at that as well. So let's talk about babies properly. When babies are born, especially in places where I practice, the United States, most babies stay about 2 days in the hospital with their parents before they go home. Of course, it depends on the health of the baby and that of the mother, and of course, the father is there as well, supporting. The first few days are very challenging, and parents have to choose whether they want to breastfeed their babies or do formula feeding. So these are some of the things parents confront when they have babies. But the most interesting part of babies is there used to be a time when people were debating whether babies have feelings. Like in the 17th century, there was this public debate of whether babies have feelings. Do they care? Do they actually care about what's going on in the environment? So people were debating that. And it wasn't until later in 1965 and thereabout that it becomes very clear that babies do have feelings. They care about people around them, they care about their parents, care about their mothers, care about how people interact with them. They do care. And there was this famous experiment that demonstrated that babies get frustrated if they are trying to interact with their parents and the parents ignore them. As early as 6 weeks to 8 weeks. So babies do have feelings and they do keep memories of the interaction with their primary caregivers. It was a very big deal. Fast forward now, the parents, pediatricians, people in infant mental health are very in tune with children's happiness, their social, emotional needs and happiness. And think about it, to become successful as an adult, you have to have a good social emotional capacity. It doesn't matter whether you're a lawyer, an accountant, a teacher, a businessman. That happiness, inner well-being, is very, very important to achieve that. And without that, you'll be very handicapped growing up. And this foundation of happiness that babies grow up with begins when they're very, very young, like days old, weeks old, months old. That's when babies need this loving care relationship between them and their parents. So these are critical moments. And as a pediatrician, this is what I do all the time. Encourage mothers and fathers to engage with babies. I see newborn babies in my practice almost on a daily basis. And when I pick them up and I'll carry them in my arm, they're so small so they can fit into my 2 palms. And I would try to engage the baby. And I would talk to the baby as if the baby's hearing me. He is. I tell the parents, look at you, baby, he hears me. And that's almost always spurs some emotional outbursts from parents. Some of them start crying. Oh, maybe he can hear me. And yes, I say your baby can hear you. And I tell them to take advantage of when this baby is young and talk to them as if they hear you, because they do. And they record your voice, they record your smell, they record everything about you, and they keep that in their memory. So babies do remember. And when I begin saying that, I hear a lot of stories from parents too. One mother told me how her father, which is the grandfather of the baby, whenever he comes back from work, he whistles. He whistles. And then he picks up the baby. And then after a couple of days or perhaps a week, the baby begins to anticipate that whistle and then smiles to the grandfather. So that connection starts very early. This quality of relationship between newborns and parents is very essential. It's critical. It's critical to their brain development. It's critical to their learning. It's critical to their acquisition of language and to their speaking. There's no two ways about that. If you don't engage your baby very early, their brain cells are going to stunt. They're going to wither away. That interaction, that engagement for their brain to begin to grow. It's like a manure. That engagement is like a manure that stimulates the growth of babies' brain cells and the interconnections between the cells. So that's a very big deal. And I tell parents to take advantage of that. You don't have to wait until your baby's 3 months, 4 months, 6 months to begin the interaction. So that is very, very important. Baby begins to grow and continues to grow. I like to liken the parents' influence on their babies, like the sun's influence on young plant, what we call photosynthesis. Young plant bends to the direction of the sunlight. The sunlight attracts a young plant and molds it and encourages it to grow. Similarly, parental input, caregiver input caregiver relationship with their babies. It's what spurs that baby's emotional and social growth. So there's no two ways about it. You can't get around it. So that is very, very critical that parents should take advantage of that limited time, especially when a baby is young. I'm talking about first few days, first few weeks, first few months. Okay, nothing beats that. There's no excuse. I don't care whether you're so busy or whether you're so rich. You have to plunge in and begin to raise your baby because these babies grow very fast. And if you don't take advantage of the time their brain is developing and growing very well, you're going to lose that. Those brain cells are going to wither away and shrivel. And the areas of brain that they support would also disappear. And you might end up having a baby who is not expressive, not using their words, not talking. So some of these problems could be because of poor caregiver newborn infant engagement. So this is a big deal. I don't know why a lot of people are not talking about it. Our pediatricians should be talking about it, but they don't talk about it enough. They should be hammering it every day. Because that could be a savior or that could mitigate future behavioral problem. Okay, instead of spending billions of dollars treating kids for social emotional behavioral problems, we could be at the back end trying to improve relationship between parents and infants and newborns because that stimulates good behavior, inner well-being, use of language, and cognitive development. As you listen to this podcast, you could ask me some questions, anything about babies. I'm the place to go. If I don't know, I'll do some research and I will give you feedback. But of course, everybody is different. And I understand every parent has their idea of the way they want to raise up their baby. It's something personal, but there are things that experts in the field have concluded and researched and determined that are very important. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you have any questions, you can ask. And of course, you can discuss further with your child's pediatrician and family. This is just Dr. Anyoha sharing his experience based on his expertise and 30 years of pediatric practice. I have my own perspective, but you can always check with your kid's doctor as well. And of course, like I said, babies vary wildly. Some of them were born prematurely, and some of them were delivered by cesarean section, and some of them had a hard start. So these are different. Everybody's different, right? Okay, what applies to one baby might not apply to another baby. But generally speaking, babies do well when they have a quality relationship with their caregivers. And what does that quality relationship mean? It means love. It means caring for the baby, providing comfort, making sure that the baby's sleeping area is quiet, making sure that you check the baby if you think the baby is on edge or needs attention or is struggling. So you have to be attentive to a baby's need. You don't ignore a baby just because a baby is crying a lot. You can't ignore babies because that doesn't add to their social emotional happiness. And of course, making time to engage your baby actively, active parenting There was a time people thought babies could raise themselves, passive parenting, just doing stuff with no actions, doing stuff with no intention. This time, I want listeners to know that it's better to raise a baby actively. So you spend some time, you make some time to engage your baby actively. Sing to your baby. When he's awake, the brief time he's awake, you pick him out, look him to the eyes or look her into the eyes and talk to her. Have some one-on-one eye contact. This is called active engagement. And of course, you have to learn how to communicate with the newborn because newborns communicate differently from toddlers or adults. They have certain cues that the parents should pay attention. One cry may mean that the baby is hungry. Another cry might be that the baby needs the diaper to change. So the little cues that babies give that parents need to know to improve that quality relationship. You might think this is very easy, but no, it is not easy for couples who've not had babies before, who've not experienced baby before, who've not held babies before. Some of the couples that I see have not seen babies before. So the only time they encounter baby is when their baby is born. So they're looking at this baby and don't know what to do with baby. So you have to be kind, you have to be loving, you have to show affection. It doesn't 100% come naturally. There's some experience to caring for a newborn baby. And the care continues. It never ends. So this is what we're going to be talking about. It is easy for us to forget when we're babies. If we didn't have somebody who took good care of us, loved us, fed us, protected us, we would not be where we are today, some of us. So caring for the baby is top on what I think is very important. That's why I spent 3 years extra to learn about infant mental health and childhood development, even as a pediatrician. To me, that is amazing. That is fulfilling in some ways because now I can share with parents what nobody shared with me as a new parent. Even though I was a doctor, I did not know some of these ways of raising babies. We just did what our parents did and what we see people around us do. But there is more to it if you want to raise a baby actively, especially in this age, because parents are competing with television, they're competing with laptop, they're competing with iPad, they're competing with little gadgets. This is why this discussion is more critical because you don't want to put your babies to gadgets and televisions and cartoon characters. Imagine a baby's brain when they're raised by the characters on TV and not their parent. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. The human race is probably going to run away because I don't think parents are raising the babies the way they were raised. They're not actively raising the baby the way they were raised. And we have to go back to that human connection, that parental physical connection, parental emotional connection. Hold our babies, begin to spend more quality time, make our time and spend with these days. Because this is an investment. This is an investment, time well invested. It's going to lead to baby who's very, like I said, smart, who can express themselves, their emotions, both positive and negative, and who can interact with the broader society in a human way. I'm giving you a very broad overview of what my intention is to talk about babies and everything about babies. So you can shoot me an email at anyoha at gmail.com. which is Anyoha at gmail.com. I think I have a question from the audience. The question says, my 2-year-old daughter breaks in red blotch on her face after eating strawberries. No other symptoms. Well, like I said, this is not a place where I give a direct answer to specific questions because I don't want to treat or diagnose things I don't see. But generally speaking, kids or children will be allergic to food items, especially new food items they have not eaten before. They could be allergic to that. And some of the signs of food allergies could be rash, could be new onset rash, especially on the face, the trunk, anywhere. Yeah, that could be a sign of food allergy. And the most important thing is to make sure your child is okay. If your child is not okay, you have to take him or her to the doctor to check her, especially to make sure she's breathing very well, because sometimes food allergy can close the windpipe and prevent people from breathing. So reacting to new food item could be mild. It could be mild allergy, or called urticaria, or it could be severe. So it's only physicians who are looking at the child will be able to tell. So this is not a place to make a diagnosis, but as a physician who's seen thousands and thousands of this, this is my opinion. And it's good to avoid any potential allergens or things that trigger allergies or rashes, especially food in children, because sometimes it can get worse if the child is continues to be exposed to that food. So I would seek the opinion of the child's physician. Thank you so much for listening. This is the very first live stream, and we are going to continue working and improving on this. Thank you. This is Dr. Anyoha on Dr. Anyoha podcast. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Please share this with your friends, and you can tune in again for next week. We'll try to make this every week. Thank you.